But here were the conditions. There were no topics off the table, no questions were sent to them ahead of time from us, and we agreed to do this ride along because we wanted to take the questions that we know you have directly to the man in charge here in Denver. I know we've covered reports in the Denver area of people who we have not seen any criminal background on. How are you justifying the narrative that's being put out and then some of the arrests we're seeing that maybe don't add up to that?
About these raids, they're a long time coming here. We've been expecting them for some time.
Yeah, so this was really a show of force. We were just, at least at the apartment complexes in Aurora, was relatively small. Part of it is that they were, they didn't have warrants for all of the apartments in these buildings, so they were going door to door, knocking on doors, banging on doors, trying to get people to come out. I spoke to
not a lot of information being given out about the people that were detained. We do know from the White House and a post that they posted that one of them was a Honduran national who was picked up here in Atlanta, and that he had been convicted of DUI.
August 2025. Atlanta, Georgia. The world's busiest airport, Hartsfield-Jackson, moving more than 100 million passengers every year. But inside one of its international lounges, the routine of travel broke in an instant. Federal agents from ICE swept in, locking down the terminal and seizing thousands of fake passports on the spot. The scene shocked travelers. Rolling suitcases stood abandoned. Screens kept flashing departure times, while uniformed officers moved quickly, sectioning off the area. Officials say this was no random inspection, it was the result of months of tracking sophisticated forgery rings using major U.S. airports as transit hubs. By evening, the story had spread far beyond Atlanta. Hashtags trended on X. Video clips circulated across YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook, fueling a heated conversation. How many fraudulent documents slip through undetected? What does this mean for aviation security in an era when mobility is global but trust is fragile? Tonight, we bring you the full picture, the timeline, the consequences, and the competing voices weighing in on what this means for both national security and civil liberties. Stay with us and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss the investigations that shape our world. 2 hours of controlled chaos. That's how witnesses described the 14th of August 2025, when ICE units locked down an international lounge at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. 50 agents in tactical jackets fanned through the terminal. Boarding gates went silent. Travelers were ordered to stay put as biometric scanners and interrogation booths were rolled into place. For some, it felt like a film scene. For others, it was a stark reminder of the invisible battles happening in America's airports. The numbers alone tell the weight of the operation. Nearly 1,700 fraudulent passports were recovered on site documents linked not to one country, but to a network spanning China, Mexico, and several African states. Each carried advanced features: three-dimensional printing on security seals, counterfeit electronic chips mimicking biometric data, and holograms so precise they fooled routine checks. On the black market, such passports fetch between $5,000 and $10,000 apiece. This wasn't crude forgery, it was industrial-scale deception. The disruption was immediate. More than 200 flights were delayed. Over 5,000 passengers missed connections or waited in limbo as airlines scrambled to reorganize schedules. Industry analysts estimate compensation and logistical costs near $1 million for that single afternoon. A local economy designed to run like clockwork was suddenly reminded how fragile security lines really are. Officials say this takedown fits a larger national picture. By August 2025, ICE had conducted over 500 similar raids nationwide, a 20% increase in just 1 month. The Department of Homeland Security reports more than 10,000 fake travel documents confiscated this year, up 30% compared with 2024. The Atlanta bust alone is believed to have prevented roughly 1,000 attempted illegal entries, which federal analysts estimate could reduce immigration-related crime in the third quarter by 5%. but even those figures open more questions than they close. How deeply have these forgery networks penetrated global travel hubs? If passports can be faked with such precision, what does that mean for everyday passengers who trust that the person next to them has been properly screened? And as enforcement intensifies, are airports ready for the social and economic ripple effects of mass lockdowns that can freeze entire terminals in seconds? The Atlanta case is more than a headline. It's a window into the sophistication of modern forgery, the scale of hidden networks, and the high cost of securing the movement of millions. The answers may determine not just how safe we feel in the skies, but how much trust remains in the very documents we carry in our pockets. The lockdown ended, but the debate exploded. The 16th of August 2025, just 2 days after the Atlanta raid, television panels, podcasts, and community forums lit up with questions. Was this a necessary show of strength or an overreach of power? National security officials point to a sobering record. FBI statistics reveal that in the last decade, 15% of attempted terrorist plots in the U.S. involved forged travel documents. Homeland Security warns that fake passports aren't just about slipping past border agents. They've been tied to human trafficking networks that profit from moving people under false identities. For those who support the crackdown, the Atlanta seizure isn't only about paperwork, it's about cutting off lifelines to organized crime. But the other side of the conversation is no less urgent. Civil rights organizations like the ACLU and Human Rights Watch have raised alarms. They argue that mass identity checks and on-the-spot interrogations risk violating privacy rights and may lead to profiling. Their data shows that in August alone, more than 200 complaints were filed against ICE, a 10% increase over July. Each complaint represents a human story: a traveler detained too long, a family questioned in front of children, a citizen mistaken for someone else. On social media, the split is stark. On X, posts from former officers and security advocates gain traction. One retired police chief wrote, "This is exactly what voters ask for: security in action." Another user, identifying as Soulful 1865, called for immediate deportations of anyone caught with fraudulent papers. Yet, dissenting voices were just as loud. Journalist Sandy Botcham accused ICE of detaining individuals who already had court orders granting temporary relief. A user under the name Angel Sputenhell warned that unchecked raids could normalize abuse of authority. And a history-focused account, Longtime History, claimed ICE teams smashed cameras and damaged property during operations. Together, these posts drew over 20,000 interactions in less than 48 hours, likes, shares, heated threads of debate. The divide is undeniable. To one side, ICE is the shield protecting airports from infiltration. To the other, ICE is the sword cutting too deeply into civil liberties. So where does this leave the public? Are Americans safer when federal agents turn lounges into checkpoints? Or does